So something that I have heard from other congregants through our some of our board forums and discussions is that some of the things that excite us about growth are seeing new faces and welcoming new families, seeing a full sanctuary on Sundays, as well as vibrant participation in Thursday dinners and the classes and gatherings afterward. Challenges tend to match up with those hopes and dreams because the more new faces we have, we are striving or trying to wonder how to make meaningful, deep connections with newcomers, as well as maintaining cohesion amongst all of the different stakeholders in our community. We also are wondering how to engage, how to grow in spiritual depth and not just in size, and how to balance those things, and also how to stay in covenant with each other as we grow in size and building beloved communities. So, in a way, the good aspects of growth are also intertwined with the challenges and continuing to live into our shared values.
There were a couple of things that came to mind right away when I thought about what we're doing well. It's really been great to see, like you said, new faces coming into leadership roles across OUUC. And I'm glad we're putting our trust in others to lead and carry the torch forward. I think that's very important. And then our community dinners on Thursday night are such a great multi-generational gathering of people coming together to be in community. And it's always a lively night. So the challenging pieces I see, I would really, when I think of the future of OUC, I would love to see it continue to thrive over the coming decades. And I think that really requires that we prioritize meeting the needs of the newer, and visiting people that are coming through our doors these days, and recognizing that needs are changing. So I think that's going to be pretty critical going forward.
I've been thinking about this for a while, and it really struck me that, I mean, I had this big gap for my history. I went to the little church and then I was gone for 20, 30 years, and I came back to this relatively giant organization, and it still felt like home. And I think that it's wonderful because sometimes you felt a little lonely at the other church. You didn't run into other people. You didn't see other people at school that went to the same church as you, and you didn't see a lot of folks. And so I'm really optimistic and hopeful because I feel that same wonderful spirit, that same kinship, that same um, coming together and learning and growing and hearing. And it just feels really wonderful to come back. It took me a little while to adjust, but I really, really like it. And that's why I ended up getting on Buildings and Grounds, and I was honored to be part of the board. And so I see as a lot of wonderful things. The Thursday, we're finding ways to connect, finding ways to get to know everybody, and keep building on that spirit and have all people doing all these different things. The struggle I see with myself and a few others, maybe mostly for me, is just trying to keep track of everybody because there is so much going on. I'm always amazed at some new thing I find out about or some new person I meet. And it's hard with work and kids and all of the other things that we have to keep up with everything. I think it's a good challenge to have, and we're doing a great job adapting to it by doing Thursday night dinners and doing forums and doing all of these things. But that can be a challenge. I know it is for me. I used to know everyone's name, and now I don't. But I want to know at least all their faces, even if I can't remember all the names. So it's a good problem, challenge to have, I should say. I shouldn't say it'd be a problem.
So these questions remind me that many UUs take pride in the fact that we are a questioning people. And part of adapting is asking the right questions. Then, of course, the challenge is finding the answers. But, but as individuals, we're all, in one way or another, asking ourselves, How can we be a kinder, more open-hearted person? How can we be more spiritually connected, engaged in the life of OUUC? In other words, what can I learn? How can I grow? And then as a board member, I know that all of us on the board are always asking ourselves, how can we best serve our congregation? And we wonder what our congregants feel we are called to become as a congregation. How can we best manifest and be faithful to our mission? As a congregation, we ask ourselves, how can we be more welcoming and supportive of other people who come in to our doors? How can we be supportive of all congregants and friends who are part of our community? Especially, we wonder how we can adapt to the way we're growing. That's our focus this year. And then, as part of a wider community, I believe OUUC is asking ourselves how we can be better allies to groups that share our values, how we can promote social justice, and how we can help create a loving, just, and healthy world. And so those questions, I think, are challenging to answer, and we are doing well at adapting to that as we live together as a community.
So I always think of church as like a potluck. Everybody brings what they have, and you may not like everybody's contribution, but it all together makes a really good experience. And I think as part of the board, I think the tension that I always feel, which is good and bad both, is it can be hard to watch things change. And so the board often gets caught in that double bind of people are excited that there are new people, but then things change because there are new people with new ideas. And so I think on the board, we've really are trying to spend a lot of time thinking about that and making sure that we retain what was good and that we don't lose anything that's really important. And also that we allow new people to make new changes because that's what's going to keep us vibrant and growing. So for the board particularly, I think it's a constant kind of awareness of what we're gaining and what we're losing, and that we're intentional about everything. And the other thing I think just for me personally is that I know we have a lot of times where we're so excited that there are young people here, and young people are wonderful, but I'm also really conscious that there are a lot of elderly people that are in phases of their lives that can be difficult and feel really lonely. And so I myself always am wanting, I think because it's what I want when I get a little older, I'm always trying to make sure that we take care of people that do things like don't want to drive in the dark, or they're maybe not comfortable leaving their house. And so that's why Zoom is a great experience. So I always kind of try to keep that population in mind because there are a lot of people in that group that mean a lot to me. So I think that's the kind of, it's a blessing and a curse. Everything is good and bad. And so I'm very grateful and I'm very excited. I sat behind a whole row of people that were all, I didn't know them and they were all younger than me at church last week. And it just made me happy because it feels like there's such a good future.
Well, I love that we are growing. I love that people are finding us. I love that we are known for something in the community. And at the forums, I'm still hearing that we still have challenges speaking honestly and directly with each other. And it's a painful truth that we don't all get along all the time. And one thing that I think is going to help us with that is that we take responsibility for ourselves. And I take responsibility for how I connect to this congregation. And my first Sunday I sing. So I saw four people in the choir and I thought, well, I can sing those hymns. And I sang in the choir my first Sunday. And my second or third Sunday, I signed up to check people in for a membership book they were making. They were taking everyone's photographs. And what a great thing for a new person to sit and have everyone come in with their family and give their names. And I don't know a single person, and I met the whole church in an evening. It was fabulous. Um, but if I hadn't done that and come in on a rainy night and sat at a table and, been of service, I would never have gotten that reward. So, um, and the challenges are this at this size, that would be a week-long commitment, probably with scheduling to get everyone in. Um, but that's what's exciting about it too. So I'm really happy with where we're going. Um, I really love the depth and quality of our worship. I love the depth and quality of our music and our music program. Um, so I mean, we're a Cadillac, baby. We are a quality congregation, and I'm really happy to sing its praises. So thank you for calling on me.
Me, I think one of the most amazing things about having a larger congregation and growing to the size that we have is something I really see on Sunday mornings. You have so many different ways for people to participate. I don't know if we would be able to do virtual participation or have two services if we weren't the size that we were. I think being able to do inter-session commons, those are big, boisterous Sunday morning get-togethers for coffee hour. And I always see people introducing themselves, having really great chats. And it's just incredible for how many different ways we have to participate now in OUUC, whether that is as a virtual participant, whether that's coming in during the weekdays, whether that's able to be on the weekends. It's really something that allows you to pick off the menu, find what fits for you, which makes sense for the congregation and the spiritual life that is OUUC. The challenge that I am still seeing and still hearing after 8 years attending services and being a part of the congregation is I'm still hearing nostalgia for the good old days, or this is how we used to do things. And it's hard to counteract or have a conversation with someone who has that idealized version of the past, and being able to find ways that we could all look forward because that's the only direction we're going to be able to go, as opposed to looking backwards, and having us be able to be in the present, to think about the future, and still find ways to honor the past.
I think at this point I'm mostly repeating what others have already said, but to me, I think the biggest thing that I see for how we're adapting well is just the myriad of ways that we have to connect with OUC and fellow congregants. I mean, between the multiple services, the online service, the Thursday dinner, for me, of course, Gen XYZ is one of my points of connection. All the teams and committees for options to serve and volunteer. And that's not to mention, the affinity groups, the adult faith development, like it's a long list if you write everything out that people can participate in. So I think that's a fantastic opportunity when you have a large congregation. On the flip side, of course, the two-sided coin. Other side of that is that it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. There's a lot there, and that can be kind of just an overwhelming sensation to be faced with all the different options and possibilities. And that's true for existing members, but I think it's also new people come in, and it's like, well, where do you even get started? And with a larger congregation, a welcome committee might not recognize that that person is new, because I know that I did welcome committee for a little bit when I first joined in, and yeah, I don't know who the new people are. If you have that kind of challenge, then someone might slip through on a Sunday, never having talked to somebody, not really, I guess, having gotten introduced to the right people or gotten introduced to all the different opportunities. So it's just, I guess, kind of the challenge of how do you take all this giant world of options and like distill it down and get the right one to the right person so that they can, I guess, find their people.
When I ask myself, how are we adapting well to our growth? I think about um, the fact that we are asking ourselves these questions and we're talking about it in the board. And more importantly, we're talking about it with congregation members. The board's hosted 2 board forums so far called We're Growing Now What? That's a paraphrase of the big question that we've asked ourselves and we're dealing with for the next couple of years. And we've hosted 2 forums so far, and we'll host another forum after the first of the year, continuing to ask the questions of the congregation and listen to what people say are their challenges or what they see are their perceived challenges. So I think we're doing well in that regard and creating opportunities for people to provide information to the board and help guide us. And what are our challenges? What we've heard from people and what we talk about ourselves is that the more people we attract, the more difficult it can be to get to know others. And the more complex it can be to meet everyone's needs. And I guess that in a way is a happy problem because you've got more people and that whose needs you're trying to meet and whose interests you're trying to address. And I think the bigger challenge, the challenge I think about is this with all of our programs. And as we always say, there's a lot going on in this congregation, and there is. With so much going on, it's a real challenge for staff. We keep adding programs and wanting to do more and more and more and doing more and more and more. And that creates some real time demands on staff. So people are stretched kind of thin. And this is something that we'll be addressing, no doubt, in the coming year or 2. And of course, it's also demanding on our facility. And I think that challenge, we are doing a pretty good job of meeting using technology and using virtual meetings and encouraging people, to example, to attend the forums that we host, either in person or online. So I think we're doing as well as can be expected, and we look forward to doing more. Thanks.